welcome to Answer Me 10, the podcast, with me, Barbara Dickson. Having been interviewed many times over the years, I'm always conscious of the generic nature of interviewing. And in my case, it usually begins with, "So Barbara, tell me, how did it all begin?" This has never exactly excited me, but I've always enjoyed reading those one-page affairs at the back of glossy magazines, which ask the same stereotypical questions to different people every week. Hugely diverse answers appear. So, I thought it would be fun to pose the same 10 questions to some other notable women in the world of music and see what different answers they would give. This is what Answer Me 10 with Barbara Dickson is all about. I hope you enjoy the journey with me. Today's guest is Mercury Music Prize nominee Kate Rusby. Born in Penistone, South Yorkshire, Kate began her career in the folk clubs of Britain before making a name for herself as one of the country's best-known contemporary folk singers. She's recorded a total of 19 solo albums, her most recent, Hand Me Down, making its way to number 12 in the album charts. A collaboration with Ronan Keating on the hit song All Over Again became a top 10 hit in 2006, and her cover version of the Kinks song The Village Green Preservation Society became the theme tune to the French and Saunders TV series Jam and Jerusalem. Her annual Christmas concert series had become a firm fixture on the theatre circuit, where she continues to perform shows to a dedicated fan base. Question 1. Town or country?
I would always choose country. I was brought up in a small village here in just outside Barnsley, actually, and Rusbys have dwelt here for hundreds of years, so there's no getting away from. There's like cousins and aunties and all sorts all over the place, which I absolutely love. But it's not even just that, like, because of where I come from. I mean, I do like the hustle and bustle and excitement of a town. Being a touring musician, obviously you're in and out of towns all over the place, and that side of it I do like. But like after a couple of days of being in a town like in London or somewhere like that, I do crave just a bit of space, to be able to see nothing, to let your brain breathe. And I also love being in the countryside, for the inspiration for writing songs as well. A lot of songs have come to me, or ideas of songs have come to me when I've just been out walking we've got 2 dogs, 2 children and 2 dogs. So we do a lot of walking. And that ancient rhythm of your feet just pounding on the earth, has inspired so many lovely bits of lyrics and all that.
You've never ever felt tempted, say when you were younger, before the husband and children and the family life, you never were tempted to say go and live in the middle of Manchester or in the middle of Birmingham or anywhere like that?
No, and actually it's funny you've mentioned those 2. I love those 2 cities. They're so vibrant, and Leeds as well, and Sheffield is the same. And again, I do love visiting them, but I was never ever tempted. And I think it's because when you do travel so much, coming back home to where I'm from is a real moment all the time. I adore traveling, but when I've been away for a while, I just can't wait to get back to this little patch of earth.
I mean, I've been away myself just recently, not working, but for fun. And to come back and sleep in your own bed, isn't that just the best thing? I'm only saying this because it happened last night to me. I was in my own bed for having not been there for a while, and I went, it was like sleeping on the clouds.
Oh, that is so lovely. And I completely hear you. And honestly, it is a moment, even just walking in your own bedroom and seeing that bed going, I'm going to be in you tonight.
I know, I love it. And when I used to get really nervous before shows, or rather when I was going off to do shows, I used to look at the bed and say, the next time I sleep in you, it'll be over. I'll be fine. Which is a sort of slightly positive thing, but quite odd. Question 2, meat or veg?
Oh, now this one I am so torn. We have our own allotment just out the back of our house, and I've been brought up in allotments because my dad and his granddad and also on my mum's side, they all had allotments and greenhouses, and so we've been around growing vegetables as we've grown up. And
Yep.
it's something that I've passed on to our children, although the older one is more interested in it at the moment. The younger one is into fidgets, they're called, or something, whatever they are, of the new fad. But, just that thing, it's so good for your mental well-being to watch something grow. And in a world where it's so busy and so full on a lot of the time, especially being in the industry that we are, you're here, there and everywhere, and life is different from one day to the next, and there's no routine really. It's so lovely to have that mental space of just seeing that little plant grow a little bit each day.
Exactly. And also, if you showed some people, many people, those vegetables in rows in your allotment and said, what is that?
Yeah.
Very often people wouldn't know what a potato or a carrot looked like because they're only used to seeing the fruit of the plant, aren't they?
Yeah. Already packed in bags.
Yeah.
In the supermarket. They don't know what it looks like underground, of course. Yeah.
How do you feel about meat then? About homegrown, responsibly sourced meat?
It is so tasty. It just absolutely love it. And I know some people disagree with that, but I absolutely love meat. And actually, and we don't eat tons of it, but when we do, I really, really enjoy it. And we have a barbecue just out the back of the house, and it's got a little shelter over it now because we use it so much. Even in winter, we tend to barbecue a lot of the meat, even the breakfast, the bacon. I could not live without bacon. But so then to be able to gather the salad and the vegetables to then partner up with the gorgeous meat.
It's so lovely. And I've just been staying with a friend up in the Highlands, and she just casually tossed about 3 nasturtium flowers on the top of her gathered salad as well. And I went, oh, that's so fantastic. She just plonked them on the top. Not only did they look beautiful in the salad, but they taste gorgeous too.
They do. And actually, I grow quite a few edible flowers as well for salads and things. And it's so funny, when people come and you chuck flowers on, they're going, oh, is this actually edible? Like, yes, or I wouldn't put it.
Exactly, as if you'd scatter poisonous stuff. Well, some people you would like to scatter poisonous stuff on the top of the salad, but not very often. Well, this sounds idyllic. So you've got you because of where you live as well. You can source really nice food. You've got food there that you're producing, and also where things come from. And I think that's probably the difference when it comes to being omnivorous. Vaguely where everything's come from. I'm very lucky because I live in the middle of Edinburgh, and we have responsible sort of retailers around here as well. So you can just gather up stuff, and that hasn't come from some suffering creature somewhere.
Yeah, and it's important to pass that on to children as well. That respect for not only the food that they're eating, but also the people who've grown it or reared it.
What do you think about the Native American thing where we should all gather round when the creature is dispatched and sort of sing songs to it and for giving up its life? Do you think that's a good way forward for us?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it might be some logistical nightmares in time with traveling and all that kind of stuff.
Anybody having a piece of this meat has got to sing a song right now. Yeah, can you imagine trying to organise that? Question 3. TV, film or books?
I would go books. Now, I do love a bit of TV and a good film every now and again, but the imagination, the imagery that comes from when I read books never quite matches up, or the film of the book, if it is indeed been made into a film or a TV series, it never quite matches up to that amazing grandeur of it. And I'm sure it stems back to, you know, I've been brought up with traditional songs. They were our bedtime stories. My folks sung them to us all the time, especially traveling in the cars whenever we were going to festivals and things, to keep us quiet so we didn't argue. And we would sing these songs and learn these songs, and that's what I would dream in. I would dream in these old ballads and the imagery. So each one of the ballads, those old ballads, you know, with the amazing stories, were like mini films. And actually now that's how I remember words of, you know, if we're doing one of the long old ballads, it's how I remember what's coming next because of the series of events, you know, in the little movie that's playing in my brain.
You know, you're also right, because I never have any difficulty remembering words for traditional songs.
Yeah.
I never have any difficulty because the story is unfolding in front of me and in front of the audience as I'm singing it. It's things that are questionably written that one forgets, one gets the verses mixed up. I always say the same about Bob Dylan's songs tend to not be difficult to remember because, again, there's lots of images. They're quite filmic. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And there is this thing, you know, I think people long for stories. I think they do long for, I don't know if you agree, but this is why things like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings have been so successful in the last 20, 30 years, because people want kind of epic, primeval, sort of visceral stuff, don't they?
Yeah. Absolutely. And in a time when there is so much throw away everything, throw away music, throw away stories, throw away, you know, technology, I think it is something that we really miss in our lives. And like you say, I'm sure that's why those types of things have been so popular.
Yes, yeah. It's interesting because certainly my eldest son, this is just that what I remember is that, you know, he grew up with masses of different kinds of music around because of myself and my husband being a great music lover. So there was lots of music, different sorts of music. But of course, he grew up and he went away and he came back and he said, "Mum, do you know this person?" And he played Nick Jones to me.
Oh, no way!
And I said, "Yes, I do know that person. I know that person very well." And he said, "Isn't he amazing?" He said, "Somebody, you know, Jimmy McFarlane, who's up and coming songwriter, thinks Nick Jones is the bee's knees." And I said, "Yeah, well, he's kind of right there. He is the bee's knees." So we got this thing where coming to these things on their own, sometimes children will find a way because they've got this in their DNA, like a stick of Blackpool rock.
Yeah.
It's in them, that the need for something much more important than the latest disposable kind of auto-tuned thing. I'm not dissing those people, you know, they can do what they want, but I just think it's interesting. I agree. I concur entirely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the amazing things about Nick Jones, wasn't it? That he's actually telling you a story. You hang off every word.
Martin Carthy was exactly the same for me. When I was very young, Martin did that. I just hung on every word and I never, ever forgot anything that I learned from Martin Carthy. I mean, it's etched on my brain forever because I was very young when I heard his music for the first time. Martin is really a great hero of mine too. Question 4, night owl or early riser?
Well, all my younger life, I've always been a night owl, and especially, you know, being a musician and all that. And I would struggle to get up in the morning. Even when I went to secondary school, I remember going, like trying to really drag myself out of bed and usually going to school with no breakfast because I've got up too late and all that kind of stuff going on. I even remember getting up so late one time, and I've got this mad curly hair, and it was kind of sprawling out all over the place, and I was trying to shove it into a ponytail. There was a bit that wouldn't go in, so I just got the scissors out of mum and dad's drawer, cut it off, and then ran off to get the bus, you know. And then later on I was going, "Oh, what have I done there? Just got a big chunk of hair missing."
I like your verb. Your hair was springling or something. That was a really good word and very descriptive. Well, so what happened? What happened? Are you now an early riser? Maybe
I am more of an early riser now. And what happened was having 2 babies. And for some reason, as I've got older and having those two kids, it's meant that I've had to get up a bit earlier. And actually, I appreciate the morning a lot more now, because I can get so much more done. And it sounds really boring, that, doesn't it? If I get up a couple of hours earlier, I can get the ironing done, or I can go and pick the veg or do whatever, things like that. But yeah, so now I've become more of a night owl. More of a lark, yeah. So, and now I struggle to stay up at the other end. Sometimes we have people come and stay and everybody's up till 3 or 4 in the morning, and I just have to give in at like 1 or 2 and go, no, I can't do this anymore.
Oh, that's amazing that you can stay up that late. I mean, I usually, the trick is, Kate, is to invite lots of old people, and they don't stay that late. You don't have any young people at any gathering ever. And then all the old people go to bed about 10 o'clock, which is exactly what I like.
Question 5, faith or fatalism?
I am a little bit both. And I do believe that perhaps you need a little bit of both in your life. You've got to believe in something. And, and I'm not, I don't go to church, and I'm not religious, but I believe in something. And for me, it is the ebb and flow of the world and nature. I really firmly believe in Mother Nature, and that there is this bigger plan that we are not in control of at all. And, the trees will always just renew themselves every year. And, so from that side of it, I have utter faith that it will be all right. The morning will come when it's supposed to. Even however rubbish the day has been or awful the day has been, it's all right. The morning will still come.
That sounds like a kind of perspective. You have a perspective on life, that things will go on.
Yes, absolutely. And in that sense, that is my kind of faith in the world, and faith in good people as well. I've, over the years, I've come across quite a few not so good people, and I've learned to filter them out. And I have such faith in the people who surround me, both at work and family and whatever we do, So in that sense, I have really strong faith in that, of the good in the world. But then also, there is stuff that randomly happens that you go, whoa, I have no idea where that's come out of left field. And I think that's what keeps life exciting as well. The unwritten bits, whoa, I didn't quite expect this to happen at all. And yeah.
You don't have a kind of feeling that there's a kind of destiny that, is this what makes people, for example, read horoscopes and believe in astrology? I mean, are you that sort of person, or have you been that sort of person?
No, I haven't ever, actually. But I'm not somebody who is super ambitious. I've never been ambitious. In fact, my dad's always said, because he's always looked after, our record company and everything. He's always said, it's a good job one of us is a bit ambitious here, last, because I just drifted along going, this is so nice. People are coming to see gigs and this is just amazing. I never thought beyond. It was always more living in the moment. So I've never really been one to have a big plan, to have a focus on the future like that. It's just, that hope that we will be able to continue and be happy in what we do.
I think there's also a kind of pride comes before a fall that might be implicit in what you've just said as well. That if you were too much planning your life, something could definitely, as John Lennon would say, come at you on a flaming pie, and hit you sideways. So, that it's not a bad way to sort of just embrace the moment and go with the flow. I'm taking that you have a bigger vision of the world. You love the people you love. You believe in, you're not a believer, you're not a religious person, but you're very happy with your relationship with life and with the human race.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. In fact, you've summed it up perfectly. Yes.
Question 6, Facebook or the phone?
Oh, this is a tough one, actually. You see, I am on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, even though I'm still not quite sure how two of those really work. But it has been a lifeline, hasn't it? The social media side of life has been a bit of a lifeline to musicians throughout the pandemic that we've lived through.
Yes.
And it's been great to keep connected with friends as well, but also with, you know, me and my husband Damien, back in May last year, we started doing a little series called the Singy Songy Sessions from our sitting room. And each week we would choose a song on a Sunday afternoon or whatever, and we'd sit and film it and send it out, and, you know, be a bit interactive with our audience. You know, it was lovely. We heard so many stories why that song is special to that person. I could tell people why I love that song, or recorded it, and
Yes.
history.
Yeah.
In that sense, I really like that side of it. But then sometimes it kind of take over your life when you do it. Got to. This is the plan that we're sticking to. You know, for this tour coming up, we've got to do, and it's like having another child that's always
Yes.
aren't you?
Yes. And it's the thing about do in your time as opposed to tested by either something or somebody, you know, where you can actually do it in your own time. And you're talking about what you've just said. It was a choice. You and Damien said, right, we're going to do this and we'll keep in touch with people that way. But when people are pecking at you and they want stuff from you and all you want is just a quiet moment, this is where it kind of oversteps the mark to some extent, doesn't it?
Yes, it certainly does. And in those moments, I would choose phone, because you can choose to have it on or off, or speak to who you want to speak to, and you can ignore it, you know, if you need to.
Question 7. Shower or bath?
Bath. Every time. I would always choose a lovely bath. And again, it's that sense of time, isn't it? I would only ever choose a shower if I'm in a rush and, you know, need to get out of the house. But I would always just like to just have the bath. So it's a bit of mental space to yourself and a great place to think and just calm.
How is the bath for you? Is it aromatherapy? Is it candles? Or is it just sloosh, lovely hot water and some carbolic soap in and out?
Sometimes it's candles if I do have the time. But I would usually have the light off, actually, whether I've got candles or not. Light off, get some nice aromatherapy bubble bath. I've got some gorgeous lavender stuff at the moment, which is just so gorgeous and a real treat. You know, it's one of those that you think, oh, I shouldn't use that. I should save it for special. And then you go, why? What's special? I'll just use it. I'm special.
It's lavender. Lavender is so relaxing as well, isn't it? Oh, the smell of it is kind of hypnotic. If I stick my nose in an aromatherapy bottle of lavender, it sort of transports me.
Yeah, me too. I actually have lavender planted all around the back of the house where we, you know, if we can sit outside, if it's a nice day to eat, we're just surrounded by it. It's all just come into flower just now. So there's all the bees buzzing around it and it smells amazing. I just love it.
Do you make anything from it? Are you able to sort of use it for, you know, other than just to put in your knicker drawer?
I put it in all the drawers, actually. I even hang bits of it in the wardrobes and all sorts of things.
It's supposed to be good for moths, so we need it up here. We're infested with moths in Edinburgh.
Yeah, it is. They don't like the smell of it, do they? I even carry pockets of it round, you know, in summer when I'm setting off wherever and I'll be heading off to a gig. I'll be sure to grab some and I can keep squeezing it throughout the day, you know, and sniffing it. Yeah.
It's so lovely. Yes. And so that's great. So you bath by choice. And so one of my guests said to me, which I thought was great, she said, definitely bath. And I said, why? And she said, because I haven't got one. She only had showers in her house. So, I mean, it's terrible, isn't it, when you can't have a bath? And it is it sort of lifts pains out of your bones as well. If you've got a slightly funny back I go running, so I don't run very far, but sometimes I get twinges in my back, and a bath is so fantastic.
It is lovely. And my folks have a hot tub as well. We would all, you know, before coronavirus, we would all be down there. We would go down there and there's the family and we would get a Chinese takeaway and we would all jump in the tub, you know, because it's a really, really quite a large one. And then we would come out and eat the Chinese food. And that used to be a Friday night ritual for so many years. And it was just amazing for that same thing.
Well, I hope, she says, with a bit of optimism, that you can resume that family practice soon. I do hope so, because it would just be great. And I'm sure that it would be something that, I mean, they just mean so much, those things, don't they? My goodness, you can't measure them.
Absolutely. And we so miss that side of life, just like everybody's in the same boat at the moment.
Question 8. Spring or autumn?
Oh, you see, I absolutely love spring. The vibrancy of the new leaves when they come out, and I spend a lot of time. I mentioned earlier, I spend a lot of time walking because we've got the 2 dogs and 2 kids, and I love to see the seasons changing as we're going around the routes that we walk on a regular basis. And I wait and wait to see, when the wild garlic starts to poke out in spring, and I'm like, oh, and it's a real moment for me, and it really lifts me. So that side of spring I absolutely love, and the blossoms that you get in May is just absolutely gorgeous. But I also like, at the other end, autumn. Even though the leaves are coming off the trees, it's almost as if that is the start of the renewing of the cycle, because they've got to get rid of the leaves to get the new ones underneath. And you quite often in autumn, you can see the new buds there starting to grow.
It's such a positive attitude, because I think there can be, for some people, a sadness to autumn. They find that it's because things are sort of shutting down, but that is a really good way of looking at it. I also had another guest who talked about things are going on under the ground in the winter, when we all think, oh, everything's dead, it's all grey, it's never going to get back to any sort of optimism. And that's not true, because there we have it. So you're thinking of the renewal already beginning to happen while the leaves are shedding and things are kind of battening down the hatches for the winter. How do you feel about autumn in relation to, say, the winter festivals coming up and the dark nights and do you feel snugly and cozy and fires on and that kind of thing, curtains shut? Do you get good feelings from that?
I do, and I was born in December, so I'm a winter baby. So I've always loved to be snuggled up, and we have 2 fires in our house, and they are lit. And actually, that is the thing through the winter. How many days can we keep it in for us as we go along? And how many days and nights it becomes a bit of a competition between me and my husband tending the fire.
My dad used to be able to keep a fire going for a really long time, because we had no central heating when I grew up. We had one fireplace, and he used to wet sort of coal dust. He would wrap it in newspaper, like a great big, like a parcel of coal dust, wet it so it was saturated, and put it on the top of the fire at night, and it would just keep the fire in till the morning. And that's, in the old days where you didn't have much money, and also you didn't, you didn't have any heat other than that. It would just keep that room warm.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of that before. That is amazing.
Yes, that's what we did, because my dad was born in 1915. So, and because I was born in the 1940s, so he had these kind of very old-fashioned, almost like Edwardian habits that came from not having much money growing up himself, So this was the thing. This is what they did. And a fire was a precious commodity, and also being able to afford the coal at that time.
Yeah. All these little ways, they kind of get lost.
But the lovely thing about autumn is if you do have a sadness, some people have a sadness about the things shutting down, but they also think, oh, well, Christmas isn't far away now.
And I love Christmas. It's always been a big deal in our house. And when we were kids, we had no money. We had nothing. But my parents just always used to make it magical for us through the music in the house. There's a big tradition around here in South Yorkshire of there's certain carols that have got lost to the rest of the country, but they've been preserved here in certain pubs. So
yes, I know about that. I don't probably know the songs, but I know about that tradition. That's really good. You're keeping that alive then?
Yeah, absolutely. And about 10, 15 years ago, I decided, when it dawned on me that actually really not many people do not know all these 30 different versions of while shepherds watch their flocks by night. We decided to get a tour together. So we have a brass quintet who come out with us, and we tour the whole of this December. And it's one of my favourite tours. It is winter and it is dark and there's hardly any light, but we travel from town to town and everybody's all tucked up,
Yes.
in the houses with their lights on,
Yes.
and I just adore it.
Once again, it's stories and milestones and the marking of the seasons and the passage of time. And we all need primevally to kind of, stick little claws into that and hang on to it. I think it's really important as well. I love that. And I love the thought of it.
Question 9, dine out or take out?
Oh, now then, I would say dine out. Because it's quite rare these days that we get a chance to go out, and especially with what's happened in the last year, I think we all appreciate those little moments even more now. But there's a gorgeous, amazing bistro pub not far from here called the 3 Acres. And it's mine and Damien's date night place. And the food never fails to be absolutely gorgeous. And it's just brings so much pleasure to go up there and eat the most amazing food. And usually we get a bit disappointed with takeout these days, because we both love to cook. So, it's quite often, we could have made this better. And, you're rolling about all night from the salt that's been in the food, so there's only a couple of places that we will do takeout really. And either we'll cook or go out, which is quite rare, but a pleasure.
I also want to know, if you're going on a date with Damien to the 3 Acres, would you dress up?
Yes, I certainly would. I always try and make myself look nice on those nights, because actually, I don't know about you, but it's very rare that I actually get dressed up with my makeup on and a dress and nice shoes and things. It's usually for gigs. It's the only time I get dressed up.
Exactly.
So,
That's exactly right. I mean, basically, even if people are coming to supper, and certainly in the summer, if you're in the garden, you wouldn't put anything particularly special on to be outside. But it is such a treat to put a bit of makeup on, to I went into if I say my jewellery drawer, don't get excited. I'm not talking about diamonds here. I'm talking about sort of lovely, funky wooden things and beads and stuff that I've got in a drawer, and hauled a whole pile of stuff like that out just to put on. It was so lovely.
It is so nice. And I'm like you, I'm more beads. Somebody once, a guy who had a diamond shop in London came to a gig, and he offered to make me a diamond necklace. And I had to turn him down because I felt so awful, because I would never wear it. I wouldn't dare, but also it's not me either.
And there's something about ostentatious. I mean, I once went to a woman's house in Chelsea many, many years ago, and she had an elevator that went from the ground floor directly into her flat. She was somebody like that. So the elevator door opened, and I was almost dazzled by this kind of trio of jewellery she was wearing. It was like the sort of thing the Queen would wear for a state occasion. It was a great big necklace, dangly earrings, and a massive sort of ring or a bracelet or something. And she was wearing the whole lot for a dinner. And I went, oh, it's that kind of thing, is it? Anyway, so yes, I know. I read you.
Question 10, high heels or trainers?
Yes, I am a trainer's girl. I go about my daily life in either my fluffy brown boots or my trainers or my flip-flops. And that's how I live my life mainly. And usually I own, and I can't even do actual high heels. I mean, I just wear like wedges, but I put on those shoes for gigs, and it is a bit of a ritual of stepping into that mindset of walking on the stage. And, even the certain lipstick that I wear or the little makeup bag that I have, the shoes are part of the ritual for the gig. Really.
A lot of people have said that. Yeah, a lot of people have said that there is almost like a uniform we change into for the show, which needs to be a change. You can't possibly go on in your ordinary clothes.
Yeah, you've got to. And also it's about having that sense of occasion as well, isn't it? And also having that, again, it's that little moment, that little private, quiet space in your own dressing room, just having a think about what's coming up, the gig, what you're going to sing, how it's going to feel, and the audience who've dressed up and come along and eaten their tea and travelled in and paid for the parking and the babysitter, and that sense of occasion there.
Yes, and also respect. You're implicit in what you're saying is the respect for the audience. My friend Rab Noakes talks about this as well. When we were working in folk clubs, so we would be in the St. George and the Dragon in somewhere, miles from home and everything. But we would always have a little bag, and we would actually put on something fresh for the show in the loo, in the pub, all those years ago. So given a proper dressing room, my God, proper dressing room and electricity supply for the hair and the whatever you need is just it's so gorgeous to have the facilities.
Absolutely. And actually I toured folk clubs too for years and years. And I got to a point when I could change out of like my jeans and whatever I had on into what I was going to wear for the gig without me or an article of clothing touching the floor. I used to tie it around my neck. I'd be in the little cubicle. I'd tie my jeans around my neck, and then I'd wrestle this on, and I'd have my shoes that I could stand on the floor, and I'd have things all tied up all over.
It's like trying to put your cosy on a crowded beach, and it's much the same, isn't it? I love that. Yeah, well, this is exactly the same, and with a mirror, really bad mirror and poor light in the ladies' lav, trying to put on a bit of lippy, for the gig. And I did that all the time as well. So well done, girl. Good apprenticeship there.
Absolutely. Yes, I think you've got to go through it to then appreciate the nice dressing room, haven't you? Yeah.
Well, I think it's all part of our development as artists as well. I think it's all part of it. The respect you were talking about. Kate, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you. You're a proper girl who can talk for Great Britain, and I like that. Those are the girls I feel happiest with. It's been lovely to talk to you and to get a flavour of your lovely home county of Yorkshire and your life and family. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you for Answer Me 10, and thank you for taking part.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been the highlight of my week.
Thanks for listening to Answer Me 10 with me, Barbara Dickson. This podcast was recorded in Edinburgh in 2021 and produced and edited by Lee Noble and John Eden.